بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، ولله الحمد من قبل ومن بعد. يشرفني في هذا اليوم أني أرحب بحضورنا في نادي الموارد البشرية، الجلسة الأولى اللي نعقدها في عام 2021 وبالتزامن مع فعاليات الإمارات تبتكر. يشرفني حضور الجميع، وإن شاء الله نحقق الفائدة المرجوة من هذه الجلسة. اليوم جلستنا طبعاً بالشراكة مع شركائنا في شركة سيا بارتنرز اللي راح يقدموا لنا جلسة بعنوان البيانات والابتكار في مجال الموارد البشرية. Of course, we are delighted here to have you all, our HR Club audiences, in our first HR Club session in 2021, and it comes in accordance with the UAE Innovates events that are happening during this period. Our session today is in collaboration with our partners in SIA Partners. I would like to welcome Mr. Patrick, the manager of SIA Partners, and Mr. Ayman, a consultant within SIA Partners, who are kindly going to take us through this interesting seminar under the name of Data-Driven Innovation in HR Functions. أتمنى للجميع متابعة ممتعة وشيقة ومفيدة. كل الأسئلة بإذن الله راح ناخذها في نهاية الجلسة من خلال خاصية الشات أو Q&A اللي موجودة على الصفحة الرئيسية. بليز حطوا كل الأسئلة هناك، وإن شاء الله في نهاية الجلسة راح ناخذ كل الأسئلة. Now I give it back to you, Patrick, so we can start the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sawa. Thank you very much for your opening words, and a very good afternoon to everyone, every participant from the HR Club of today's webinar. We will be addressing a very interesting topic today, and that is how HR functions can leverage data and data analytics to become artificial intelligence driven. Essentially, how HR functions and also organizations overall can leverage and transform themselves with artificial intelligence, which is a very relevant topic for the UAE public sector because of the vice leadership of the UAE. And in today's session specifically, we would like to talk about the state of artificial intelligence in the human resources functions, okay? How it has evolved, how the human resource functions can become data-driven, what are the benefits, what are some of the challenges. Then we will focus on how to set up an artificial intelligence project, and how later on to establish a fully functioning center of excellence for artificial intelligence, to be able to scale up and industrialize artificial intelligence within your organization for long-term sustainable outcomes. And at the very end, we will have a discussion forum. We've enabled a chat through which you can post any questions and remarks that you have during the presentation, and we will raise and share those questions with you, and hopefully we will also be able to answer all the questions based on what has been asked throughout the session. Okay, so this is what we would like to achieve with you in the next 1 hour, and we hope that you will find it insightful. Even though the topic of artificial intelligence can be dauntingly technical sometimes, we've done our best to distill this topic to a level, to an understanding on which not only technical people, but also the people from who run the business side of every organization can quite well absorb and apply in terms of knowledge and practices in the organization. So going forward, you can also post questions not just on the chat, but also through a separate Menti channel, which is here, whichever you prefer, and by going on your phone, entering menti.com, entering the code 73, 78, and 55. Then at the very end, we will display and answer the questions. So a little bit of an introduction about us before we go into the core topics. I will be your main host and presenter of today's topic. I lead the data science practice of SIA Partners in the Middle East. I'm based out of Dubai, but I cover all GCC countries. My background primarily is in the digital transformation, robot process automation, AI, and customer experience and design, with multiple projects in human resources as well. And I'm joined by my colleague Ayman, who works with me in the data science practice in the Middle East. He is a data scientist based out of Dubai, and he has a very similar background. While I have the background on the business side of artificial intelligence, Ayman has the technical side, being data scientist with digital transformation, RPA, AI, data science, data analytics as his significant progress. And where do we come from? We come from a company called SIA Partners, a next generation consulting firm that has been founded over 21 years ago and has achieved quite a phenomenal growth over the past 21 years with 31 offices across the world. We not only focus on management consulting, the traditional areas, but also very heavily on artificial intelligence and data science, having 4 artificial intelligence centers of excellence across the world: Paris, London, Montreal, and Amsterdam, and 2 design centers in Paris and Montreal. We quite heavily invest in R&D and development of new technologies. And very recently, we have launched a new strategy to better support our clients, focusing on 4 main pillars: the traditional management consulting of business expertise and transformation, consulting 4.0 focus, which leverages artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, open innovation for being able to provide augmented consulting, which I will introduce very shortly. Consulting by design, helping clients reshape project and their experiences for design and creativity. And consulting, and special focus on consulting for good, transforming the simple focus on CSR to lever profitable transformation for organizations, public or private. So over the past 21 years, we've evolved from being a very, business expertise centric, focusing on specific sectors and services, having later established a first data science center of excellence in Paris, to having established a fully functioning artificial intelligence ecosystem called HECA that acts as a platform as a service, production, development environment that hosts accelerators, demonstrators, algorithms, models, and readily deployable artificial intelligence solutions. And when you put this together, you get augmented consulting. So what that really means is that whenever we are addressing challenges of our clients, we combine all these capabilities of traditional business expertise in data science and artificial intelligence, and address those challenges in a much different way than through the means and ways of working of traditional consultants. So that was very briefly about us. Now we're going to go into the first main section, which should take us approximately more or less 15 minutes. And it builds, and in this case, in this specific section, we'll try to explain of how to build a case for human resource functions to be analytics driven. We will look at the evolution of HR over the past few decades. We will look on how specifically to build a case for HR functions being analytics driven, how to do so, and what are some of the benefits as well as challenges that come along with it. So without further ado, the HR function essentially has evolved over the past few decades from being very operationally focused on recruiting, on maintaining the talent, on developing the talent, and plan and basic planning, towards a rise of strategic HR, when HR was the function of performance reporting and being very, very strategically driven for the benefit of the organization, to nowadays when data is literally transforming the mandate and a function of HR from being a data gatherer to being a data interpreter. So essentially HR professionals no longer rely on the gut feeling and they make data-driven decisions for more strategic actions and stronger financial performance. So this essentially becoming a data-driven is not necessarily easy and a short journey. In fact, it's a journey that we see across 5 main steps with three very important pillars. So the first step of the journey is aligning the organization on the vision and the baseline where it is in terms of data, why data is interesting for the organization, and what the organization wants to achieve with it. To storing data, acquiring and centralizing the relevant data by creating data management organization using technology, towards extracting insights from the organization's data and understanding what the main AI use cases for the organizations are applicable, towards developing and building the necessary profiles and implementing analytics functions and optimizing business processes. And last but not least, innovating within your organization, using your data and analytics to innovate in products and try to transform the organization overall, whether at the level of automating the workflows of the organization or towards building analytics-driven function. So with the 3 pillars of having a fully aligned vision for the entire organization, of what it wants to do with the data, to setting up technology-driven data management practices, towards having a well-established, clear and comprehensive artificial intelligence strategy that enables organizational automation, as well as setting up analytics functions in different areas of the organization. So this is what the journey is. And let's look a little bit more of what it means for the organization. So what does it mean really when the organization wants to align? It means that if the organization is in this stage, it faces multiple sources of data which are not integrated. The data essentially is in isolation and is difficult to analyze. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, store. The organization has ad hoc descriptive reporting and metrics, reactive to business demand, and has very basic reporting and management. The third step, analyzing multi-dimensional dashboard and analysis. So the organization is advancing to being technology and platform driven. Operational reporting for decision making, starting to leverage the data, towards developing the development stage, the 4th step of people, models, and data analytics. So we advance into the stage of data analytics. And providing and sharing insights into drivers of performance and behavior to make informed data-driven decision making. And the last, the highest levels of the maturity in terms of the steps is setting up and the Center of Excellence for Artificial Intelligence, industrializing projects and scaling up the solutions across the organizations from being quite simple and modular, and having, in this case, HR as a profit center. So this is the association of the journey and the individual steps that the HR functions should look at. Now, sometimes it's quite difficult to sell HR across the company to be data driven. So we look at the 2 aspects of how to do so and what the organizations usually fail. So when it comes to selling the organization, selling the HR as a function to the organization to be data driven, we look at 5 main steps. Make people understand the benefits of data-driven HR for the entire organization. And this webinar essentially can be a very effective lever for that, because we will go through all the essential content, all the essential topics that will make any executive aware of the benefits as well as the challenges of setting up HR data-driven function. Second one, onboard people from other functions. This will allow, obviously, breaking down the silos, which is very important for selling the case in the organization, but it also allows the capture of new kinds of employee data, which is very important, and also as well as getting different perspectives on this case. Number 3, preparing a business plan for the leadership team. It's very important to clearly lay out to the leadership team of what we want to achieve and how will it work. Fourth one, outlining what you are hoping to achieve with data as well as the tangible benefits to the business and the employees. And the fifth one, be open and realistic about the time frame, business and cost disruption, because the cost will probably not be small. There probably will be some disruption of the business, which will need to be maintained and mitigated, so the continuity of the business stays in place. Now let's have a look at the other side of how to go about making the case in the organization. Again, across 5 very simple steps. Number one, it also depends obviously on the size of your organization and the usual process that you have of the stage gate process in your organization. How are you going to approach this particular case? Number two, summarizing data strategy into key points that can be communicated in a short presentation. So it's very important to simplify it. Keep it simple and brief, obviously. Be enthusiastic about it, because this will really broaden the horizon of the organization and completely change the ways of working and the workflow of people and as well as the organization overall. And the last one, showing examples how other companies leading this way have succeeded in terms of lessons learned, benefits, as well as challenges. So the organization can learn based on those successes as well as failures and do so well for itself. So this is how to build a case for data-driven HR. Now, when we're going to embark on doing so, the HR function essentially will have different avenues for leveraging data from every source. We have the primary people data, which is usually our HRIS, our secondary people data, which is surveys, emails. We're going to have the CRM, which is the business data from different areas of the organization. And we're going to have external data, social media and web. So these are all the internal, external data sources that the HR function essentially will have to leverage to be analytics driven, to create and share insights for decision making. Now let's look at a pathway, how at a very high level it looks like through an automation of an entire organization and HR driven digitization. Essentially, there are 2 layers when it comes to building an analytics-driven organization. We have the automation at the macro level, which is the organization automation via systems, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation. And then we have the digitization of a function being analytics-driven, which essentially is what we're going to talk about today. And that is the green part of this nice visual flowchart. Starting from sourcing the data, internal as well as external, just like we raised in the previous slide, through our different sources and systems, to collecting, storing, and processing the data, the big data, okay, leveraging it through artificial intelligence for prediction, and then interpreting it through interactive displays using visual designs and dashboards. Now, when it comes to HR analytics, it addresses 4 different areas: recruitment with attraction, evaluation, and hiring; employee development, onboarding, ongoing development, and career management; employee performance with goal setting, performance management, and talent management; and employee well-being, focusing on fitness and well-being of employees, community service, and cultural activation within the organization. Later on in the next section, we will focus on how these areas are supported by actual AI solutions. And we have also prepared demonstrations of some AI solutions for HR functions. Now, what are some of the benefits of HR analytics, at least at the macro level, to be able to explain it to the leadership and sell the case? It's obviously number one, time and money saver and processes accelerator. From making from interpreting, gathering, interpreting data manually, and making to having it automated and deriving a decision based on insights and analytics. Number two, reliable predictions. Okay, supported by data rather than doing it by implications, natural implications, which usually result sometimes to a certain degree of human error. And number three, better and more reliable decisions. Number four, meeting the organization's overall goals. And number five, accurate insights into organizational processes. So at least at the macro level, these are the five very important benefits that HR functions and organizations overall can and definitely will be able to rely on once they are data driven. Then let's look at the flip side. What are some of the challenges that HR functions face when becoming data driven? Bringing together and understanding data from many sources. That's obviously very difficult. And this usually happens in stage number 1 and 2 when we're trying to centralize and integrate and clean the data to make sure that we have clearly identified sources of data. Number 2, lack of data analytics and skills within the HR function overall. So it's basically the people from the technical side of data science being integrated on the business side of HR. So it's really how we compose the function, how we compose the team to be effectively analytics driven. This is something that we will also address in the next section, how to put together a team to succeed on setting up as well as implementing AI projects. Number 3, worrying about privacy and compliance. Well, this is very, very, very important point. And we see this all across the board in the public sector. Sharing the data, whether internally or externally, it's an issue. So compliance and ethics are of paramount point to address. Insufficient IT resources or resources or technical resources to set up and drive HR data analytics. And last but not least, sometimes we do see that there is insufficient support of top management. Not necessarily non-existent or lack of support, but sometimes the degree of support is not sufficient to successfully drive AI implementation all the way to setting up a center of excellence and sustaining it for the long term. So in this section, the high level, we've introduced the evolution of HR from being operationally driven all the way to nowadays that HR's mandate is being changed completely from data gatherer to being a data interpreter and supporting the effective decision making of the organization for HR analytics, to understanding of how to do so, to setting up the case, and then understanding the challenges as well as the benefits of setting up the HR analytics within the organization and being data driven. In the next section, what lies ahead is we're going to talk about how to start your AI project in the organization, specifically in an HR function. Okay, how to do so, what does it consist of, and what are some of the overall organizational challenges to successfully set up a project, as well as the benefits of obviously how to do so. And we're going to go into a little bit more details that will elaborate on some of the high-level content that we ran through in section number 2. So what lies ahead? Before we go into details of setting up a project and how to do so, let's have a high-level overview and let's attempt to classify the artificial intelligence. Primarily what the HR function and what we're going to be touching upon, what the HR function is going to be looking at when it's going to be trying to set up and leverage data analytics, is the bottom part of these 6 points highlighted in green, which focuses on learning, planning, and communication through machine learning and deep learning when we acquire new knowledge from experience. Planning, drawing conclusions from facts, and planning actions based on data insights, and communication, understanding and analyzing the natural language. Now, there are different HR analytics techniques, and we look at three main domains of AI that enable HR analytics. And those are natural language processing, machine learning, and advanced process automation. So these are the three domains that the organization will leverage to successfully set up an analytics-driven HR function. And there are specific subfields within these three main domains that the HR function or the organization overall, with the support of the technical IT or digital department, will look at. And that is text analytics, scanning and analyzing the content of emails and CVs. Okay, sentiment analysis, understanding employee opinion, determining employee emotional states. Image analytics, facial recognition, recognizing your hands in pictures shared by your employee on social media. Video analytics, analyzing the CCTV footage to detect if an employee is not wearing the right outfit, or, for safety purposes. Alerting abnormal behavior or understanding more your employees, essentially. To predictive analytics, predicting what might be and what will essentially be the talent needs of your organization. A very good example is the evolution of hiring needs and talent needs of organizations such as health authorities in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, or in any emirate within UAE, or across the world that the pandemic by COVID brought about. So we've analyzed that in a case when we conducted a training session for Fahad organization, and it was very interesting, the evolution of the health authorities of how their talent needs essentially changed. And this particular case can also be utilized in any organization to understand, to make insights into the future and see what your talent needs might be based on evolution of trends and how the organization is performing. And then last but not least, the voice or speech analytics that focuses on helping identify employee satisfaction, supporting and support on digital interviews. So these are the three main domains that the organization will need to focus on to effectively set up and drive analytics-driven HR function. But in order to do so, we're going to look at some key ingredients of how an organization can effectively become analytics-driven or become driven by artificial intelligence. Number one is having a coherent AI strategy. Number two is having a well-defined and functioning operating model. And number three is having the execution capabilities to be a variety of them, or a multiple of them, to be able to effectively implement AI projects for sustainable outcomes. So let's have a look and talk about the ingredient number one, having a well-defined artificial intelligence strategy. Having an AI strategy is one thing, but it needs to be very well aligned with a corporate strategy of an organization, where to make sure that the AI ambition is well aligned with the overall ambition of the organization. The HR objectives or the corporate objectives must be well aligned with the objectives of the AI strategy. The KPIs, the initiatives, and the governance of the execution of the strategy at the corporate and HR department level must be very well aligned with the AI strategy. And then the AI strategy itself needs to have well-defined projects, which we label here as AI products, and essentially they are further broken down into objectives, metrics, and specific actions that we're going to perform and conduct in order to set up and implement those projects for successful development of AI products in the organization. So to make sure that the outcomes of the AI product is inevitably, in retrospect, well linked back and aligned with AI strategy, with the HR strategy, and then with the corporate strategy. So having all these strategies in great synchronicity is very important, so the organization understands what it wants to achieve at each level, corporate, HR, and AI, and is able to put its resources and align its resources to be able to do so for effective outcomes. Let's talk about ingredient number 2 now. Ingredient number 2 essentially is about having a well-defined and functioning operating model. Here we simplify and break it down into 2 main parts. You have the business part, which has a demand, okay, or it has challenges within the organization that it wants to address, okay. And you have the IT side that usually is responsible for the technical part of the implementation. And these 2 sides need to create a solution to address the challenges of the organization. Okay, so with the drivers for the demand are usually the corporate strategy, the stakeholder challenge, and the HR strategy, just like previously explained. And the outputs then would be the business outcomes, which can be employee experience, organization change, or revenues, or cost savings, for instance. And how is it usually done? So the business side would be the owner of the AI project or the eventual AI product, and it will manage the people side, the ethics, legal side, and the processes. Well, the IT side will be supporting on the project execution because it owns, hosts, manages data, okay, which is inevitably the key input for the project and for the development of the AI product. So it's a data asset, okay, and it supports hosting of the infrastructure of the technology, okay, on which the AI product will eventually be run. So now we have the business model side. Operating model side. Now let's look at the execution. It's very important that when we are setting up a project, we very clearly define the ways of working within the team so the project can be successfully executed. At the bottom part of the slide, you have a very brief legend that that specifies the type of people who the project needs to be composed of in order to be executed, essentially. We have the HR specialists, so people from the business side who define the challenges, the needs, the KPIs, the essential and eventual deliverables. We have the business analysts, UI designers who will, the business analysts will help us interpret the challenges, okay? So business analysts are, you can say, the middle person between the HR specialists on the business side and the scientist side, so the people that will join and interpret the challenges towards a technical solution. We have the UI and UX designers who will help us build the interactive dashboards or the visual dashboard on which the outcomes for decision making will be displayed. We have the data stewards who manage and supervise data quality. We have the data scientists who will be building the solution, the algorithms, the models, and we have data engineers who will be refining the data lakes, the architecture, the functionalities, and testing new features. So the composition overall is 25% business and 75% data, so the technical side. But then the timeline of setting up an entire project can be up to 3 months and consists of 6 macro level parts. So we have the scope definition, we have the prioritization of our challenges and needs to clearly validate the scope that we want to address with the solution. We have the data identification, and then the data processing and cleaning. We have the model and algorithm building, and then in the end the communication and the handover of the solution back to the business side. Training, change management, ongoing operation, being analytics driven. Okay, so this is at a high level of how a team is usually comprised and how the timeline of the project can be broken down based on our experience, with a mix of people and how they contribute across the value chain of the project. Now let's have a look at the execution side of the AI project implementation, and let's look at it from a point of view of the individuals and what they will effectively do across the value chain of the project. So here we have identified the 8 main activities, or basically 8 main actors, and how they contribute across the value chain of the project. So we have the HR specialist again. They usually define the KPIs and metrics and formulate the requirements for the project. We have the business executives who define the requirements at the aggregate level, check the market for available solutions. So we have the option of buy or custom build in-house, and consider obviously building a tool if they wish so, depending on the needs of the organization as well as the unique ecosystem context of the organization, technical and functional. Executive and HR specialists who evaluate the commercial tools, deciding the need to build. Executive and HR specialists gather the team, define the roles. Data stewards and data engineers, they extract, transform, and load the data sets, and they clean the data sets, prepare them for algorithm and model building. We have data stewards, data scientists who will prepare additional data collection, train and deploy the model. Then we have our designers who will be setting up the reporting, the KPIs, and implementing a front end reporting platform. And then we have the IT department who usually develop the AI, the training strategy, change management plan, and implement onboarding tactics and actions for the rest of the organization to make sure that the solution is well up and running, people know how to use it, and there is ongoing support from technical or functional to make sure that the solution essentially is leveraged across the organization. Now, let's look at the ingredient number 3 of the execution, and it's very important because it's compliance and it's AI ethics. So we have it at a governance level when the organization needs to set clear principles of artificial intelligence will be applied in the organization. And then we have the operational level when those principles essentially need to be applied in the organization. And the staff at the operational level must be made very well aware of these principles and abide by them, because they will be utilizing the AI solution. Let's look at now the roadblocks to that the AI projects usually face in the organization. As you can see, they're not very complex. These are very standard ones that the organization face or think they face. So let's have a look at them, what they really mean. So when we are defining the scope of the project, some organizations think, okay, well, we either need more strategy or we can execute without a strategy, and they sometimes trust the gut feeling rather than being data or fact driven. Okay, organizations sometimes really have information silos with departments that are not, transversal, not cooperating, or also the worst case scenario that the data is multiple sources and effectively is in silos, and it's very important at this stage to integrate the data, clean, collect, integrate. And we have a second stage of prioritization when organizations sometimes have a fear of missing out. So it's very difficult then for them to prioritize which projects to focus on, because they are really excited about the implementation of analytics in the organization, on building different AI products, and they feel like, well, let's try to address as much as we can, rather really prioritizing based on challenges, what would make the most impact for the organization, and then do prioritize a short, a medium, and long term, based on the vision, long-term roadmap of being aligned on the vision, having a very clear data management strategy, technologically enabled, to having a very well-defined and aligned AI strategy to become analytics driven. Then the stage number 3, we have the data processing, where the organization has bad and unclean data from multiple sources. So this is when we get to this stage, it's very difficult to. And this is a stage that usually takes quite some time to gather the data, to integrate it, to clean the data, to be ready for modeling stage. And then when we get to the modeling stage, sometimes we face the shortage of talent internally, particularly business versus IT. Both sides totally understand what needs to be done and how to do it. So the organizations most of the time decide to augment their internal workforces with external support, or those that really have long-term AI visions. They try to internalize the talent right from the start, and to make sure that it stays within the organization. And the last but not least, we have the communication at the very end, when when we face the challenges of the application of artificial intelligence in the organization, ensuring that we are complying with the privacy, data usage, and consumer data rights, etc., etc. So I'm sure that you're not surprised to see any of them, but these really are at the macro executive level, the most important challenges that the organizations eventually face when either setting up, going through the journey of being AI driven. Obviously, many more challenges will probably pop up along the way on your journey, which either might be for the business or technology side, but none of them are something that simply cannot be addressed or overcome. Let's have a brief look of the talent management cycle, and let's do a brief demonstration of some AI solutions and how organizations can actually leverage AI to essentially be driven automate this workflow at a high level. So at this point, there are solutions essentially for all of these stages that HR functions can deploy immediately. These solutions can either be built in-house by organizations, or they can be custom built for the organization with external support. Either or, they are available, and they can be quite easily deployed. Now, I'm going to share the stage with my colleague Ayman, with whom I haven't shared much time so far. So I'm going to unshare my screen, and I'm going to give the screen back to Ayman, who will take us through two demonstrations of artificial intelligence solutions. And he will showcase how these solutions can be effectively utilized by the organization.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. I'm sharing my screen right now. Can you see it?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, so now we will talk about two solutions that we have
just click forward.
We will talk about two solutions that we have in-house at CR Partners. And one solution is a CV matching bot. So what we call a bot is basically a web application program that leverages artificial intelligence that is deployed online. So this bot, the business problem that it tries to tackle, it identifies the right profile to hire on the HR side and helps the customer to find the best jobs ads. This is on the employee and customer sides on this business problem. So the methodology here is basically we leverage a convolutional neural network, machine learning, and we interpret the text. We interpret the text of the resume in any formats, PDF, PowerPoint, Word, etc. And so the data source of this model is many resumes that we have from CR Partners. And the model, it allows us to extract from this resume the seniority of the applicant and the sector of activities that the applicant is expert on. And the result, it's ads tailored to the resume. You can find the ads that will be best for you, or we can identify the right profile for a job application as a HR specialist. So clearly, the outcomes is a solution that returns the jobs ads tailored to candidates. Okay, and it improves their user experience when they want to apply, and also it allows the HR specialist to identify the right candidates. So without further ado, I will present to you this solution. So here it's a solution that have been put in place by CR Partner in 2018. And this solution is used on the employee side. I will just show you as an employee what I can do with this solution. So I will select my resume. one out of this resume, which can be a PowerPoint or a PDF, as you can see, and upload it. So now the machine learning model will apply, and as you can see here, we know who you are, but we didn't find any jobs internally for you. Okay, so this resume here, it's pretty balanced on several on different criteria that we have predefined when we applied the model, which are government, compliance, CFO advisory, etc. When we extract the experience, we extract the words in the group of words, and we can apply on each of these categories. That was the training of the model. And second features is you can see what is your seniority according to the model. Okay, so if you want, you can select another resume and try to find your general description and another job for yourself. I don't know. Okay, so this one, for example, is really expert on CFO advisory and energy and resource utility, but it's more, I will say, junior profile. So next, another solution that is in place internally, it's a talent retention bot. So the business problem here is you have a lot of competition in terms of companies now in organization. More and more, the people will flow between a corporation because of I will say distance or traveling needs, or maybe also new potential employers. And so, as an HR specialist, you need to identify these profiles that are at risk, that may leave the company. And so we have built a model. Our methodology is quite simple. We use the data from your HR information system, and with the model, we can find the variables that are important or that factors of resignation. And we can build the scoring to predict the resignation of each individual. Okay, so you may retain them. You may propose them a new post, a new position. You can say, for example, to this employee, you can move if you want to another business unit if you prefer, but you can stay with us. Or you can even contact him by mail and say, do you feel good in the company, etc., etc. So of course, the outcome, as I said, is to determine why employees are resigning, and identify the risky profile, and also prevent them from going out. So I will show you the bot now. So it's just a demonstration. So you will not have the data till 2021, but it's internal data from CA Partners. We have two main functions from this bot, which are basically the KPI function, when you can review different information, and you have the prediction approach. Basically, we will give you the scoring of which employee are at risk. So let's go through the information. As a HR specialist, I will see the evolution of resignation rate or turnover rate across the year. Okay, so you have 2016, 2015. You can select which year you want, and you can see, for example, in September, we had a high turnover. Then you can see also the resignation rate per business unit. For example, it's CA Partners data, so it's real data since 2015 that we have here. You can see that one of the sectors that has a high resignation rate is the transport industry in our case. Then you can see also we display the information about the number of departures and arrival, which time period, and filter selection. Okay. Before we go to the predictive approach, I want to give you a small data overview of the different inputs that we have from our HR information system. And this information are if it's a man or a woman, the age, ancienneté, where the location, his position in the company, salary, etc., etc. So for each data set, we can see the percentage of resignation over the total population during the period. So here we can identify the criteria that are important for the resignation for our predictive model. So I will not go through the model explanation for the sake of time, but the predictive approach, the outcomes of this is the scoring. We can see the people that are at risk of leaving. For example, I know that I have a consultant senior with his ID here, his age and his department, and he is the most probably to leave here. He is more probably to leave next year from the company. And we have reached some prediction, I will say some prediction accuracy around 85%. Voilà. So this is the two bots that we can present to you today. We have more bots, so feel free to contact us if you want more demonstration. I will give back the hand to Patrick.
Thank you, Amin, much appreciated. So let me go back to the talent management cycle. So we've demonstrated only two of the bots, but we have multiple AI solutions or bots available for each stage of the talent life cycle, and we've decided to present these two, which are, I would say, the simplest for the time from the time efficiency perspective. But we would happily do more next time in case you have more questions. So in this section, we have effectively learned of how to set up your AI project, and from strategy to putting together a team to the actual execution, and again, what are some of the pros as well as cons of doing so effectively towards reaching the outcomes that you want as an organization in an aligned way. Now, we've understood so far about how the HR function, the organization, can be analytics driven. We went on into details of what we need to do in order to do so. Now, once we are already executing, we also need to look at the aspect of how to scale up the implementation of the artificial intelligence and data analytics across the organization, okay, or at a much larger scale, and what are some of the enablers to do so. And one of those enablers certainly is a center of excellence. Now, before we talk about it specifically, let's have a look at what is the center of excellence, okay, and what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of each. So we have three different types of centers of excellence. We have one which is business-led driven, so it's purely driven by HR leadership. Okay, we have one which is driven by HR information system. And we have one which is driven by artificial intelligence, data analytics. Now, each has certain pros and certain cons. For instance, the business-led driven one, some of the pros are that there is direct support to the business, okay, because it's led by the business. Analytics performed by closer to the business issue, okay, so very close connection with the data and the business challenges being addressed. And the downside, the cons of this model are lack of skills on the analytics side and analytics perspectives. In terms of pros and cons on the risk side model, we have leveraging existing HR data and encouraging data processes, which is great, more like a second maturity scale towards being analytics driven. And some of the cons are that it's a matter of fact that it's far from the business issues, lack of skills from risk analysts towards analytics, and requires training investment. Okay, quite a significant one for retraining. And then we have the AI-led center of excellence, which essentially is the maturity and the stage or the model that we want to that we aspire towards when we want to be AI analytics driven. So the high level is just a comparison between these three. It's not really kind of an option selection. I prefer this one or the other. No, it's really once you set on a stage, set on a path to be analytics driven, you need to aim for the one which is AI led, and it's really about clear accountability of HR analytics, dedicated resources to analytics, and and basically having putting together resources with great expertise. It usually mostly requires restructuring of the HR function because of the previously explained elements of the composition of the team. So it's not only HR specialized people, it's people who come from different backgrounds to be able to successfully execute AI projects and scale up AI across the organization, respectively with the HR function. Some of the downsides as well, it needs a lot of resources, obviously, from being either operational HR towards being strategic HR to make the shift to being AI-led investment of resources. Sometimes it's quite significant. Please don't be alarmed. The investment of resources doesn't necessarily have to happen immediately or at once. It can happen, and usually it happens over a period of time when the organization is maturing and evolving over those individual steps and stages that we have described of the journey to become AI-led. We will later on also display the timeline over which you can conceptualize setting up the Center of Excellence. Now, how does the Center of Excellence usually work? Okay, so let's consider this scenario. We usually have business problems, challenges that need to be addressed. So we need to understand them. We need to collect the data. We need to model. We need to deploy, and then we have the outcomes. And the flow is usually both ways, from business understanding to collection, deployment, modeling, and back to business understanding, and back to the business problem. You know, so it's an iterative process that flows both ways. And what are some of the different types of centers of excellence when it comes to setting up the AI driven one? So we have the centralized model, decentralized model, and the hybrid model. I wouldn't say there usually is a preference one over the other. It really depends on the type of the organization setting up the center of AI-led center of excellence. But when you look at a centralized one, it's great efficiency, it's faster implementation, and straightforward accountability. Well, because it's driven by one function and it's very centralized, right? Usually it's very process driven, quite inflexible, and there is resistance from other business units because it's usually my way or the highway, hence the centralization and imprinting of the authority of that particular function to drive that center of excellence. We have a decentralized center of excellence, which you can say you have a main one with other satellites, okay, of functional points across the organization. So great, a lot of flexibility around ways of working, quite transversal, and breaking down silos. So this usually works quite well for the organizations that are a little bit more democratic in terms of decision making, or overall I would say overall decentralized from a governance perspective, corporate governance perspective. And then, yes, obviously, once you are quite decentralized from a corporate governance perspective, the governance itself and accountability can also become an issue because the decisions are being made all over the satellites, those decentralized units. So you don't always have clarity, and sometimes there is also lack of alignment between those individual functions being analytics driven. And then those different functions that are kind of mini satellites or centers of excellence then have a different approach to prioritization, or essentially are prioritizing their challenges differently, not necessarily fully aligned with the central function. Then we have the hybrid model, which is a mix of both, as it usually goes. So on the plus side, we have the flexibility, business unit acceptance of what to do and how to do it, and quite well streamlined implementation of standards across the organization towards industrializing this center of excellence. However, we also face complexity and efficiency because we are battling with the both worlds. So I wouldn't necessarily say there is a clear-cut case to select one and just go with it. It's really about the nature of the organization. It's a public sector entity, the government, or it's an organization that is in transport, or that is in the technology industry. It really depends. So let's now have a look at what are the reasons why a center of excellence brings benefits to the organization. Now, this also is part of the case that we described in section number 2, when the HR function is making a case for being data analytics driven. So we have three main reasons of the macro benefits for the organization, of providing structure, and that with that goes company-wide AI adoption strategy, which is great. The second one, prioritization and business need analysis, and the AI team's governance. So that's, that case is quite clear-cut. The second reason of benefit is building great capabilities across the organization. AI business use cases, optimum AI outcomes, and reusing of data internally. Effective solutions, knowledge sharing, and regular AI coaching. So all these sub points are great benefits for the organization once the organization embarks on the journey, and it really represents quite a transformation towards really adopting the digital code. Now let's look at what are some of the characteristics of organizations that successfully set up centers of excellence. There are 6 that we have identified that at the initial onset that the organization can benefit. Adequate talent. The organizations have adequate talent on the business as well as technical side. A responsibility to those with the appropriate expertise. Number 2, strong business alignment. Business first, HR second. Number 3, solid HR partnerships across the organization, well-defined SLAs. Number 4, HR leaders use and promote HR analytics across the organization. Remember, this goes with building and making the case for HR being analytics driven across the organization, particularly the leadership, onboard and align everyone across. Number 5, proactive development of capabilities. This is very important to be able for the organization to be able to sustainably execute its project towards well-defined outcomes. Number 6, adequate technology allows the team to put their effort into the analysis, not the manipulation of the data. So having well-defined technology-enabled data management strategy towards having appropriate infrastructure to host enable AI solutions, application of AI solutions, once you get to the industrialized stage. Now, when we look at the setup of an artificial center of excellence, artificial intelligence center of excellence, we also look at the technical framework. So when we do the setup, we focus on the structural model, okay, on defining the initial roles and responsibilities, on defining knowledge governance approach, defining learning and development plan. When we look at the actual framework, we look at the defining data sources, selecting the right tools, defining the governance structure, and specifying the key roles. So this is when we look at the setup of the Excellence Center and the framework how to do so. Then when we also need to look at some of the key steps that we need to take to successfully implement the Center of Excellence. And we've boiled it down to 9, which are quite intuitive when you read them all. So number 1, creating a vision for AI in the company, followed by determining the appropriate level of ambition. Then organizational structures and processes are well defined and in place and functioning. Acquiring and building talent, developing and maintaining network of artificial intelligence champions or focal points across the organization in different parts of the organization, creating a target data architecture. Number 7, identifying business driver use cases, followed by managing external innovation and putting in place and protecting ethics, governing implementation and AI applications. Now, what are some of the challenges that organizations face when they are setting up a center of excellence, and how to overcome them? So we have the team perspective, okay, the human side, and then we have the actionable data. Both of them are very important part and elements to make the center of excellence happen. So we have the teamwork, we have the recruitment and training, we have the reskilling and existing employees on the human capital side. When it comes to the actionable data, making the data actionable for usage, we have the data quality, data structures, data science procedures, and overall data governance. Okay, at the high level. Now, let's have a very brief look of what would be the approach or a plan of how to do so with some indicated timelines to set up a center of excellence. So we start with a planning side when we have the COE criteria with the vision alignment, strong and sustainable business demand, and IT capabilities. With creating the core team, as we elaborated on in section number 3, assessing the current state, the first part of the journey, and creating the Center of Excellence Charter. Will be our vision, mission, goals, objectives, metrics, and putting in place the processes, tools, and governments, to have a strong foundation. This usually takes 4 to 8 weeks. But this is really indicated. It really depends on the maturity of the organization, as well as if the organization is doing it internally or is also has a support, external support perspective. Followed by a second step, which focuses really on establishing the center of excellence, and that is putting in place a roadmap for implementation and the model and framework implementation itself that we introduced earlier. Then we have the operation that usually takes minimum of 6 months to 1 year to really get your hands on the ways of working, and how really make it happen on the team side, on the data side for the sustainable outcomes. So it's really the stage of the stabilizing the center of excellence operation, and focus on improvement of activities, learning and development, knowledge management, and putting in place practices and methodologies and constant overview of lessons learned. And then we have finalizing the technical framework, where we are harvesting the knowledge from past projects. So when we are doing the implementation of AI products, and standardizing the processes and tools based on lessons learned over the previous projects. And then we have the last stage of optimization, which is essentially an ongoing operation, and we focus on optimizing the cost, constantly undertaking benchmarking, not necessarily constantly, but from time to time we benchmark, and we look outside the organization of how other similar or different organizations do what we do, how they operate centers of excellence, what are the lessons learned, essentially. Now we have the initiation part, where we focus on the development of solutions activities and competency building, continued competency building within the organization and across the organization, and standardizing the processes, tools, and knowledge management repository. Okay, so these are the 4 big macro stages of the organization when or of the program setting up the AI Center of Excellence. So I think we might have taken a little bit more time than we have initially planned to do the initial presentation. Now let's have a look at the discussion forum, and in case you have asked us any questions. So I will share the stage now with my colleague Ayman and my colleagues Ayman and Salva. And let's see if you were interested to ask anything during the presentation.
So I will go ahead and present my screen now, Patrick.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, can you close your presentation?
Done.
Thank you. So, Salwa, I'm sharing the screen in the chat right now. I don't know if there was any question. Keep in mind, you can still post question on the chat now, and we will answer them. Okay. I don't think there was any question yet, but we give you like 1 or 2 minutes. Okay.
I think, yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Patrick and Ayman, for the great presentation. I think we don't have much of questions on the chat box, but we are going to monitor still the questions that are coming from the back end. So I think you can just stop sharing the screen, Ayman. And
yes. Okay.
Yes. So بس اخواني اللي مشاركين ويانا في الجلسه، لان في كان اكثر من سؤال بخصوص كيف نحصل على الشهاده، فاللي حاب يحصل على الشهاده بس يدخل اسمه وايميله في البوكس اللي تحت الشاشه، مش في الشات بوكس، في البوكس اللي تحت الشاشه. الله يخليكم، بتوصلكم ان شاء الله شهاده. واذا عندكم اي اسئله طرشوا اياها على الشات. So very interesting session, Patrick and Ayman. Probably I have a couple of questions for you, Patrick, because I was really interested in the whole concept of the building an HR-driven organization and the process of building a center of excellence in this regard. So you have mentioned, Patrick, that ethics, having an AI ethics, is one of the main pillars when it comes to building an analytics-driven organization. So when we say ethics in AI, does it only consider the coding part of it? Like I must tell my programming team that you need to code in a certain way, so we don't have any biases when it comes to data. Because from my understanding, AI or the AI learns from the data, from certain patterns in the data that has accumulated across years. So if I have some, I might say, insufficient, practices when it comes to my HR transactions, that would lead to AI developing biases, if I am correct. For instance, in the recruitment process, if I'm only recruiting females in the last 3 years, how does that make sense when it comes to me saying that, oh, I need to put now guidelines for AI ethical use, although it has been the transaction that are being done which hasn't been proper. So this question always comes into my mind.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, I have to say. Ayman specifically actually anticipated this question because as a data scientist who does the algorithm building, coding, and modeling, he always needs to factor this in, right? And yes, you are. So I'm going to give you the short answer, okay, from the business perspective, but I will let Ayman elaborate a little bit more as a data scientist. So essentially, yes, it's when we are doing the coding and building of algorithms to make sure that we do not factor in biases. Okay, so that's number one. For example, just like when I was demonstrating the first solution, there were certain features built as displayed to qualify the individuals or applicants for a certain position, right? So when we are coding these features, we need to make sure that we do not hold any biases, against genders, against races, against people from different, religion backgrounds, or any type of information they might share on an application, right? To make sure that it's really neutral and we consider them at a competency level perspective. Okay. And then, so that's one part when we are building the solution, and the other part is when the organization or the individuals, the organizations are applying the solutions, right? So we need to make sure that those AI products are applied in the organization and they are focused on the organization's primary outcomes. So the individual employees do not try to take advantage of the solutions and use it for other benefits. Okay, so that's the other part. To ensuring that the compliance of the usage of the AI applications. So this is from my business perspective of the data science. Now I will also let Ayman to share his point of view on the AI ethics.
Yeah, it's a really good question. We have some project with diversity and inclusion that we have been working on. And we have showcased, for example, in some jobs advertisement that they are more directed for men than women in the way they are structured. Basically, in the text that they are structured. We have built the AI to highlight this wordings and phrasing to maybe reformulate the job advertisement, etc. But mostly, AI is not subjective. It's not biased. What is biased is the data that you will put at the entry of your model. So, for example, I showed you the bot about talent retention. We use the age, we use the sex of the person, but maybe we are missing some data. We'll have some dilemma. We will always have some dilemmas coming from the data that we had previously, because the way we have built our data structures is human-based. Okay, so I will give you an example about AI dilemmas that happened recently. For example, YouTube is trying to cut, I will say, racial-based videos. When they use too much the word black and white, we might, for example, block this video. But it happens that someone published a video about chess playing, and they use the word black and white a lot, and YouTube closed this video. So here the problem was at the beginning, at the business, they didn't build the proper ethics principles, meaning that the data science team built a model using only the data of the words and not more than this. So it's really about the business here, and they need to follow up and imagine each case is and each data that might provide some ethics dilemmas. So it's of course at the beginning of the data value chain that it's happened, but the business need to be there every time. I don't know if I answered your question, Salwa.
Yes, thank you. That's clear, Ayman. So, and your point where you've said that data is the biased element, and the formula is very great, because we have been always told that ML results or AI results are biased and we need to solve that issue. But actually, we need to solve the issue of our data, not the issue of the code that comes with machine learning or AI. So, I have another question when it comes, probably Patrick, to the center of excellence that we've talked about that we need to build in order to roll out our AI.
Certainly.
Projects. Yeah. So I built the center of excellence. It is there. It's operating. How can I measure the value of the center of excellence, that it is actually added value to my organization? Are there any certain measurement that I can use to measure the value?
Absolutely. Let me go back to perhaps display the screen again. I think I'm displaying my screen again. So when we are setting up the center of excellence, we need to define a very clear vision, and we need to align on the vision across the organization. At this point, we need to define the very clear objectives that we want to achieve, and how to achieve them. So we will need to select certain key performance indicators and suitable targets to reach certain maturities in the organization. And one of those can be how digitally native the employees have become, how AI ready the employees are. So you can have a certain maturity at the initial onset stage here, and then you continue measure your against your targets across your operation at the end of the year, or every 6 months, or depending on the frequency that you want to measure. You always have a touch point and review how you have matured against certain KPIs and what you have achieved. You can also have focus on cost. How much are you decreasing, for instance, cost to income, okay, or cost for revenue oriented organization, or simply cost to run an operation for a public sector organization. because the artificial intelligence essentially is can both automate the organization workflows. So what used to be manually done by human capital now can be automated. Okay, which means that you can eventually streamline the human capital employed in the organization, or how artificial intelligence is better enabling our decision making. Okay, how much faster do we anticipate customer turnover, or how many more customers we have been able to retain, because we can predict their turnover or their needs. How much we decrease the turnover of of our human capital across the organization, because as we've demonstrated, how we can predict how we are able to maintain them. We can predict when they might potentially resign. So there can be a variety of KPIs focused on different areas. Perhaps this might not necessarily be the most suitable slide, but the most suitable slide could be from the section number 2, when we are focusing on the HR, this section, for instance. When we're focusing on recruitment, okay, we can use AI solutions that will help us recruit profiles, applicants that are most suitable based on different criteria. Okay, so we can continually better evaluate individuals using AI solutions. We can focus better on retention. We can focus better on onboarding and development and career management of employees based on different, enabled by different AI products, and so on and so on and so on. But when you really look at the recruitment, employee development, the employee performance, employee well-being, the organization can set specific KPIs, or organization usually has specific KPIs already. How it manages the human capital across the organization, all the way across the talent management lifecycle. And we can monitor the impact that artificial intelligence and the AI products that we have implemented in organizations, how they have improved the organization's performance on those specific KPIs. So I would say, just to perhaps summarize my answer, we can look at 2 different aspects. How AI is better enabling organizations' performance on its existing KPIs and metrics, okay? And we can also look at the KPIs at the center of excellence level, okay? How effectively we have been able to move from centralizing, managing, and cleaning the data, all the way to how well we can essentially optimize the operation of the center of excellence.
May I add a point, Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely. Please feel free to add to my answer.
Yes. So here for the AI Center of Excellence, in the case of HR, and that's why we have this section about selling the business case for HR, because you will have a better employee well-being, maybe enhance employee performance. Sometimes it can be difficult to showcase to the company, okay? But basically, your AI Center of Excellence, or your digital lab, what it does, it facilitates the interaction between the different stakeholders, okay? And so every time you will start AI product, for each AI product that you will start, normally, when in the prioritization phase, you will define a method to compute the return of investment for this AI product. So for each AI product that you have built, and you have this ROI, you can showcase that, in fact, your AI Center of Excellence has a generic return of investment, which is the sum of this AI product that you started. And you can sell that to the company, explaining, yes, it's really good that we have this AI Center of Excellence.
Really clear. Thank you, Patrick. It's a clear answer for me, which, we are on that journey, and we are looking forward to implementing such a concept within Fahad in the coming future. So I think these are the questions from my side, Patrick and Ayman. I don't see any other questions coming in the chat box as of now. Let me just do a final check on the chat box. No further questions, only thank you guys, a lot of thank yous coming out for the great information. Again, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Patrick and Mr. Ayman, for this great session. A really informative session we had today. A lot of points that we can take out from this session and start looking again at our AI journey, especially within HR, and how we can build an AI-driven organization and what things to take into consideration. Again, thank you, and I hope that we host you again in our venture in this HR club, and I'm positive that we will have you again in the coming near future to present a new topic for the audience of the HR club. Thank you again. If you have any last word, Patrick and Ayman.
I think this is all from our side. We've already had a discussion. Perhaps just a general reach out to the participants of the HR club. If you would like to learn a little bit more about artificial intelligence, particularly application for HR functions, do not do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are available at any time. You can also reach out to Salva, obviously at Federal Authority of Government Human Resources, and we can coordinate whichever way you prefer.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you. شكرا جميعا وشكرا للحضور، وإن شاء الله نشوفكم في جلسات قادمة بإذن الله. شكرا.